Howdy folks, whether we like it or not, AI continues to march forward. There's one or two areas where I think it can really be a benefit to us. One is mundane tasks that we don't want to do, and the second is where machine learning and figuring out patterns will make what we've been doing anyway better. So Lightroom has just released Denoise AI, and if, I say if, it's able to accurately analyze images and then based on the millions of images that it's done, know that this is an eyebrow, so it should be, fine detailed through the hairs and keep contrast. This is a background and it's bokeh, so it can be smoothed out more and just make sure the color transitions are all right. If it can do that kind of thing, then potentially it can really get better. Now, there's been loads of different noise reduction software on the market for ages. Obviously Adobe is one of the market leaders generally in imaging software, so let's see how they've done. Now, I've actually gone through, chosen out a bunch of different images here, and I've intentionally chosen some different kinds of images, and I've already done the test so I can share the results with you. But first of all, let's take a look at this portrait here at ISO 6400. This was taken on the Sony a7 IV. If we go into develop, bring up our module, then down here under detail, here is Denoise. Clicking that brings up a new interface, and you can zoom out and then go in exactly where you want to pay attention. Now, you'll probably note there at 60 or even at 50, it does seem like it plastifies the image a little bit, but we're going to see different results on different images. So holding it down, you see the undenoised image, so you see all of that pattern noise and the color interference that's coming in. Let's do it at, let's say, 65, a nice midpoint. So before and after, it seems like it's gonna retain good detail through the eyelashes and eyebrows, and that it should take 15 seconds, so let's do that. Now, I can tell you from advanced experience that this is one step in your editing process. It's not going to be a one-click and go. You're going to need to refine it by each image, how much adjustment they need, and then you'll still want to go in and do the rest of your work on the image. It's just a step, but it is really great that it makes it as a DNG rather than outputting a JPEG or something. So it gives you a whole new raw file that then you can work on to make your future adjustments. So let's take a look here. This was our original. And then this is the AI enhanced version. So let's grab both of those. So it's the enhanced version on the left. Now, it's pretty good in this case, depending on how you view things, a little bit, plasticized, but overall, the detail through the fabric is definitely improved. You can see that a lot of that pattern noise has gone out. The wispy hairs are still there. It hasn't just deleted them. You can see the little brushes in her makeup and everything. So it's done really quite a good job, I think, at this particular setting, ISO 6400. Now, like a good cooking show on TV, here's some that I prepared earlier. These ones taken up at ISO 51200, it's a bit of a different story. So here on the left is the original, and on the right, you can see how it's started to guess at a lot of things because there's so little data to work with. It is starting to look like those AI avatar generators where it can't figure out what to do with the fingers, or where there's missing data, it just kind of puts a brush stroke. And you can see a lot of the wispy hairs that were in the noise there have just disappeared on this one. You have hairs kind of coming out of nowhere, not attached to anything, across the shoulder blade here and everything. So we can say that 6400 on that particular camera worked well, 51200 not so much. Likewise here, these were taken at ISO 40000. This is a before and after. This one was done, I think, at Denoise setting 60. And you can see it looks totally like a Barbie doll. It's all plasticized. The skin tone, the skin texture, there just is none. You can see all of the texture in the outfit. This is really starting to look like ChatGPT territory. Now, it gets worse. Well, I'm taking a look at this one, which was taken at 25,600 before and after. And on the wide shot, it's not too bad, but when we go in close, it just looks so fake to me. It's like, yes, all of those little lines are under the eye are naturally there on her, but the way the distance between each line is completely smooth here, it just doesn't look realistic. And then the way the eyebrow, well, the eyebrow's not too bad, but it's kind of, it is falling apart to an extent. Now, if we take it to the extreme, ISO 204,800, because why wouldn't you take a photo at that level? Obviously, I was taking this just for testing purposes. But here I did the noise reduction at 40, 70, and 100 settings to see what it would be able to do. So if we compare it to 40, the original obviously on the right, 40 on the left, you can see it's calmed down that pattern noise, gotten rid of the green cast that was coming in fairly well, but it is already the elements are starting to take on an overly smooth shape. When we jump that up to noise reduction 70 here, you can see she's really starting to become a pixie. The background is looking definitely better, but she's looking more unnatural. And then at our 100 noise reduction, I mean, come on, it's just ridiculous at this point. It's not a human anymore. It just doesn't look right. Taking a look at this bird, taken at ISO 5000, here's the other situation where I think it can work really well. Now note, I have not used masks. I would have, if I were really editing this, then I would go in and edit it step by step. I'll actually do that for you in just a second. But you can see the weird pattern noise that we're getting in the background here at ISO 5000. That's partly because I added texture to the whole image. But you can see the difference we're getting here on the feathers and then in the eye, how clean it is. Definite improvement, but then the main difference is back there in the background, how smooth it all looks now. So just before I do that full edit, quick takeaway for you. As a portrait photographer, nothing beats adding more light and getting your ISO down as low as possible. I personally would rather be at ISO 64 all the time if possible. Even 400 is, getting towards the top of what I want to be at. But you just can't always do that. Sometimes you need a certain depth of field that dictates your f-stop. You have a certain amount of movement that you want to control that dictates your shutter speed. If you're unable to add light, then your ISO is just the last resort. But I would say, basically for skin, for people as a portrait photographer, I wouldn't want to be using this at 12,800 and above on my cameras. It is going to depend on your camera, because a modern camera from Canon, Nikon, or Sony at 12,800 today is probably cleaner than 1,600 was 8 or 10 years ago on a sensor that old. But for backgrounds, great. For birds and landscape, that kind of thing, also looking just great. So if we take a look at this bird shot, I'll do a full edit on this one. So let's open this guy up, the original. Okay, so we're going to make a variation on this one. So I'll start by doing the denoise straight off the bat on this guy. Okay, I'm going to do this one at 75. Let's do that, let it run through. Okay, so this is our working file. This is our original file. So from here, I'm going to mask the foreground and the background. So let's choose our subject. And it has perfectly gotten my little bird friend. So there I'm going to use texture to help bring up the feathers. And a tiny bit of clarity. I was a fair distance away, small amount of dehaze. And I do actually find that sharpness paired with the AI, I don't tend to use sharpness in Lightroom much at all, but I do find that once I've done this denoising, it does kind of help. I'm going to bring up the saturation a little bit, bring up the highlights just a little, put a tiny bit of contrast through him. that's pretty much that. Then I'm going to make a new mask, which is going to be the background. And there we can I'm going to increase the luminance of my greens and the saturation. I just want to bring the background up a little because the bird was in a nice pool of light, but it meant that it's quite a lot brighter than the background was. Okay, so really quick one, let's just leave it at that. Now let's take a look at the before and after, having done those separate edits. And there I think you can really see the difference. Just look at how much more detail we're getting through the feathers. You can see just how much more detail we're getting through the feathers, much crisper. And then our background is super smoothed out. All of that pattern noise from the high ISO in the bokeh has completely pretty much gone away. So that's a situation where I would be absolutely fine to use this. So I would say up to 12,800, 25,600 or above for wildlife shots. For background of wildlife shots, the sky's the limit, maybe 64,000 or above. For people, I want to keep it down as low as possible, use it to perfectly clean up shots, under say 1200 ISO, or clean up nicely images up to maybe 3200, 6400, but that's about the limit of what I ever want to be at anyway. If you haven't already, please do like and subscribe. I think we're going to have a lot of great content coming over the upcoming month or two. Do check out the new Shibari 101 course if you're interested in learning that. That's at artnudeportraiture.com, intended for a mature audience. If you've used other denoise or AI software, let me know your thoughts and opinions on them as a comment below. Thanks, and I'll see you guys soon.